Federal changed my life because it gave me back my freedom, gave me back my family. Whatever your thought of money is, wipe it. It's not the same in the federal world. What we're selling here at Momentum is the pain that you don't have to go through for the money that I've already lost and the money you don't have to lose. If you don't want it, cool. Somebody else is going to want it. And guess what? We'll help them. Grow or die. That's one of the things we talk about every day in our culture.
Discomfort is where growth begins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Podcast, where we have an opportunity every once in a while to spotlight a member. On today's show, we have a wonderful guest. He's one of our Boardroom Elite members, Ryan Rodriguez, member of one of 300,000 on Blue Collar Millionaire. Brian is representing Semper Fidelis Construction and Development today. Super excited about this. You guys may have seen over the last couple of weeks, months, we're talking a little bit more about government contracting, bidding for those, what federal jobs look like, how it potentially plays into what you're doing. And so not only is Ryan a friend of mine, but he is spending some of his very busy time these days talking to us a little bit about what he's working on. Ryan, brother, welcome to the show. It's great to have you, man.
Oh, man, it's great to be here. I appreciate you, Ricardo. What a whirlwind with everything with Blue Collar, and just the group has been amazing. So thank you for having me. It's Blue Collar Elite. Honestly, it's changed my life, man. Not a story. Nothing else
I love
to say,
it, dude.
But let's dive into it anyway.
Yeah, let's dive in. Same, man. And look, the listeners know that, the script that we follow and kind of the podcast is organic, but man, I had a chance to meet you recently in person at the last Boardroom Elite event in Tampa. We went out to the beach. We had a cocktail. It was a wonderful day, man. And I left with this indelible, takeaway that is, I need to be doing what you're doing. And there are so many others out there that need to be doing that. So I wanted to talk today on what this world of yours looks like, government contracting. It sounds very elusive to a lot of people. In fact, I know close friends and family, Ryan, that unfortunately tried to launch and that they couldn't for one reason or another, whether it was red tape or the barrier to entry for bidding or SAM.gov or just messing stuff up. A lot of the listeners know I served in the military, as did you. Thank you for your service, Ryan. And so we know that the big government system has a tendency to put the kibosh on something if it's not to a T. So we're going to get into a little bit of that today, but can you give us a little bit of an idea as to what your company does, when you got started, and what those initial kind of struggles at the very beginning look like, how you got through some of those, man?
Yeah, no, great question. I started with Semper Fidelis Construction Development. Really, it started so backwards. I landed a contract with the VA for special adaptive housing. Didn't even have a company yet. And I was like, whoa, I need a company. So we stood up Semper Fidelis Construction Development. That's about a little over 6.5 years now. And wow, where do I start? It was brutal.
Yeah.
We started with the VA, again, handicap accessibility, moved into residential and commercial right after COVID, right at probably midway through COVID. And that's when I started learning some really hard lessons because it was much easier working in the VA than in the public sector. And I went through it, man. Losses, people trying to take my stuff, project managers wearing my gear, trying to land jobs away from me. It's a very cutthroat ordeal. I mean, in blue collar, it's unfortunate because it really doesn't have to be that way. But, fast forward a little more after going through the pain of growing, because, the first year we were at 400,000, right? Next year we're teetering right at 1 million, and we've been there for a few years. And I had to take a step back. I had to take a step back from it all because I was in the hospital. For the second time. I was pussing and bleeding from my face. I mean, this is scary, man. It brings chills to me, really, because this is where my life changed. The doctor's saying, hey, you need to call somebody. They had me all plugged up and taking medication. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we can't get your heart rate down, and you're either going to have a heart attack or a stroke.
What?
And it's like, what? Yeah, I mean, that was the day that everything changed for me because, I was working 18, 19 hours a day, going back to my office, finishing bids until 2 a.m, sleeping under my desk, getting up at 6 a.m. and doing it all again.
Dang.
It was the grind, right? It's like, How do we do this? How do we do this? And when I really took a step back, I found God, which was the biggest thing for me because it helped me stop and just really assess.
Put it into perspective.
Yeah, different perspective, God, family, then my company. And once I reset and focused on the foundation, that's when things started to really change for me. And in fact, I'd gotten invited to do a federal job here on BAMC, a blood facility. It's a hospital here in San Antonio. Had I not been invited to that, I never would have known about federal construction. Nobody talks about it. Nobody teaches it. It's just this mythical unicorn which I can honestly say with wholehearted confidence, it is just a mythical unicorn nobody understands. And even if you met somebody, they're not going to tell you anything. So did this project, flying colors. Money I made was, it was all right. When I went working with the company that I worked with, I'm not going to say any names or anything. I was kind of like, wow, I'm better than this company. That was pretty sloppy considering it's
Yeah.
federal. Reverse engineered the product, got into federal myself, got burned a couple times along the way because everybody says they can help or they can do things. And that's when I started learning in federal that anybody will take your money.
Yeah.
It's all just a money grab. It really is. We'll get into that later. But
Yeah.
once I got in, lost a couple $100,000 on the bidding process, trying to figure it out. It cost me about $5,000 a bid just to send people, intake, all that, call subs, call center, blah, blah, blah. So it gets expensive really fast. But once we figured out the process and started duplicating, the snowball started rolling downhill. And that's when things got beautiful, because then I could actually scale my business versus just being in my business.
Survive
and I think that, yeah, honestly. And that was the biggest change for me, because federal changed my life. Federal changed my life because it gave me back my freedom, gave me back my family. It helped me focus on the giving versus the receiving, because back then and early on in the business, going full circle, it's all about how much revenue can I make? How much can I bring in? How do I do this? More marketing, blah. And then no, I started helping people, man. I started, hey, sit down. Let's sit down. Let's go through your books. Let's go through your numbers. Let's go through this. Let's go. You know what? You're doing this, but let's try this. And I'd never charged for consulting or anything like that. I never saw it that way. But once you start putting good out in the world, man, it comes back. It doesn't come back right away. It takes some time. But I think that's kind of what we're missing. Everybody in the blue collar world is everybody's focused on take, when realistically the give is just as important as the take. So
huge.
Yeah.
And you got your health back too with that, it sounds like, man. Like so many things that you were deprived of and you were so involved with, it sounds like you were able to kind of ease the grip a little bit and focus on other more strategic aspects.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, I saw your post just a few minutes ago about Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. That book changed my life.
Yeah.
I read that book after the hospital, and it was phenomenal because my best hire, Rebecca Benola, I poured everything into her, everything. And I'll tell you, I hear it all the time and talking to people of, oh, I don't want to pass it off. It's mine. No one could do it better than me. No one takes it as personal. When I passed the torch, she did it better than I ever could have done it. You know what I mean? And not only that, like she replicated people with just minimal guidance of what I gave of this is the requirements. This is what we need to do. This is the mindset. Only gave her the wave tops. She turned around and made the in-between the wave tops even better than I could have. And that's one of the biggest things a lot of blue collar people don't understand is you got to pass the torch, man. You want to grow your business, you can't do it yourself. End of story.
A couple of things you mentioned there, starting with the most recent. You just gave her the wave tops. So many times as leaders and as owners of companies, we think that we need to give this person or delegate to them the granular version of how we want things to be done. And that's a mindset that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have, is we're so type A that we're like, look, you need to do A, B, C, D, and E, and the outcome needs to look exactly as I want it. Well, the reality of it is I have found in my experience, both military and non-military, that if you just give them the vision, everything else they can do, if you trust them with that, you may end up being surprised to find that their approach to it was better, which it's phenomenal. And so for you to be able to buy back your time and implement someone who does it better than you, we're egotistical, man. We're sometimes self-centered, prideful, egotistical. We're disposable. And so people can sometimes do it better than us. Also, you said a couple of things early on that, you kind of struggled with, like you didn't start the LLC in the appropriate amount of time, or things were backwards. When you started this up, Ryan, did you have any help? Was there a mentor that you had, or did you go at all this alone?
No, I did it all alone. It's so crazy you say that. I've looked for mentors for years, probably at least a decade, and I could never find someone that I aligned with that I would say I can follow the footsteps. And I think it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, because coming from the Marine Corps, you got some great leaders, man.
Oh, yeah.
You got everybody, the whole thing, the ethos there is lead from the front. Never ask someone to do something you wouldn't do yourself. Never send your guys, your men, where you wouldn't send a bullet. That was tough in the beginning, but with our mentality as service members is just get it done. No excuses. End of story. So jumped into that without help. And it's, I think once I continued to grow as a man, because, for a long time, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a Marine, right? But it took a long time to understand that, wait a minute, I have a duty and an obligation to teach these things that I know now. Like I am a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have tools in my tool belt that other people need to hear, starting with the suffering. Even in Tampa, right? Chatted with people that were suffering. Not gonna name names or anything, but it's like, wait a minute, you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's where I think we need to kind of reset the blue collar mindset of it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say you
Yes.
don't know, man. Because there's things you
100%.
could ask me, Ricardo. I didn't know. I'm going to tell you, man. The greatest thing we can give to anybody is honesty. That's the
Yep.
ultimate respect. And even in that is the brutal honesty. Like if I suck, I want to hear it, man. Help me understand where the disconnect was and how I can make it better.
I love
So
it. 100%. Okay. So you didn't have any help, didn't have any mentorship. You talked briefly about losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on bids. And I'm going to connect the dots with you in a little bit on momentum, something else that's really exciting that you're working on. But let's talk through that bid process and how you lost that money and what changed in you and how you kind of course corrected to get to a state where you weren't losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it sounds like this is kind of the beginning of where your company really kind of ramped up a little bit.
yeah, so we're just over 3 years in right now. That first year was wow. I mean, again, nobody's teaching you. I was searching specifically for mentors for federal, and anyone that was federal that I knew that I could Google was a company wouldn't call me back, didn't want to share it. Sorry, we're busy. And it was eye opening because here I am spending money, grinding my wheels up. And mind you, it was me and one other person at the time. Complete reset. I fired 23 people because again, resetting the culture, it's foundational work, right? You got to start from the bottom, work your way back up. So I reset completely. Whatever wasn't working, I scrapped it. Start over, Ryan. You suck. So, but hey, man, you see what
I
I'm
say that
saying?
to myself all the time. You suck, Ricardo. Get better.
It's
No
that
one
honesty,
cares.
man. Yeah, nobody cares. Work harder, right?
Yeah.
But I did the reset, started with the foundation. The bids process itself, we were trying to get out to at least 5 bids a month in the beginning, right? So here we are, me and one other, Rebecca, traveling back and
Yeah.
forth, trying to make things happen. I've got like 40 residential jobs in queue. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, we were booked out, didn't have enough people, trying to find subcontractors at the time. It was a brutal, dirty system. So that first year was just throwing things out there, losing bids, losing bids, losing bids, losing bids, course correct, course correct. And what really changed for me was analyzing the data, right? So it's lost at least 5 or 10, I'd say. And then finally, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Go back and look at everything. So I went back and looked at everything, started looking at the trade and the margin of the trade of the win versus what I bid at, right? Started looking in a different area, same thing. Okay. Different trade, different valuation, blah, blah, blah. North Texas, South Texas, East, West, because we're bidding all over Texas at that point, trying to get anything going. And ultimately, I want to say about 15 bids in, we finally won. And then we won a second one.
Let's
And then we won a
go.
third one. So here's the beauty of it is the margins are always there in federal. So now we're able to grow our company. So now these two people that started it, we've won 3 jobs. Now we have 5. Okay. So we're in the jobs, learning the process. Again, nobody's helping us. Now we're
Yeah.
learning the paperwork side, going in blind, completely blind. And it's trial and error. It's all trial and error.
Yeah.
And again, I think there was like about the 4th job, we had a subcontractor burn us, had to sue him. 5th job, same thing, had to sue him. Now we're at a point where, we just finished this first quarter just over $1 million, and we got second quarter at a couple million coming in just for the second quarter. So,
Let's go.
you got to throw it on the wall. You got to make it stick. But most importantly, you got to grind, man. You can't let the no's or the losses get to you. And I know that sounds easier than it is, but you got to have blinders on. And that's where blue collar came into play. When I met all you guys, first in Georgia at the private event and then in Tampa, that was my first time taking the blinders off. That was when I had ideas. I had companies set up at about 70%, knew I was going to launch them soon. And I was chatting with Chris in Georgia at the basketball game. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. You need to go with that idea. And I was like, really? You think
Yes.
so? He's like, no, you have to. Talk to Kevin after that. He's like, oh, you're gonna make a lot of money doing that. And I'm like, man, am I seeing this
Yes.
wrong? Because it was Momentum was like the 5th company, and instead that became the first. Within 72 hours of leaving Georgia, I flew there that morning, flew out the following day. I started that LLC within 3 days. I'd already had it all submitted, paid for, blah, 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 just waiting on the paperwork to come back from state. Started road mapping everything, push us out to about a month and a half later, we go to Tampa and we're talking about it. And we were getting ready for a soft launch. We weren't really ready. Kind of like when you and I had talked about it, it's like, hey, we're not ready. We don't have the pricing fully finalized. And now it's an explosion, man. It's cool. It's pretty cool. So,
Hey, so you know what, man? I admire you, Ryan, for taking a lot of action. I think that there is an equation to success. And my thought is that the equation is it's capital plus analysis plus execution is success. and you are executing on a massive scale. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that. For the listener today who doesn't know about government contracting, federal, state, give us a layman explanation on, because right now, man, in Blue Collar Millionaire, you got owners of gutter companies, roofing companies, HVAC, plumbing, electric. You've got dry cleaners, laundromats. Let's make this make sense for the listener from a one, does this apply to them? Two, if it does apply to them, how do they play in the sandbox? Where do NAICS codes play into this? And to what extent can you subcontract work that you're not an expert in? Can you give us a layman explanation on that?
Yeah. First of all, this is for everybody. And that's what most people
This
don't
is what threw me
understand.
off. This is what I was blinded to as well, man.
This is for restaurants in the real world. You can be in food courts in the federal world. Oil companies, tire changers, same thing in the federal world. Blue collar, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, mechanical, all of it, same thing. And I'll take it a step further and tell you what the critical ones are that are needed like right now. There is a shortage for construction, blue collar, everywhere throughout the US. So much so that I'm bidding in 8 other states because, again, it's about the opportunity, right? I already know what the shortages are to me. And that's why we have the consulting portion of Momentum I can't win everything, Ricardo. I wish I could. That'd be so cool. Hire everybody, right? But it's not possible.
Yeah.
I don't even have the bonding capacity for that. That's why it was like, wait a minute, let's push this out to the public. Let's get these people in here to raise awareness for this, that you can do it too. So I've had about 50 to 60 conversations over the last 2 weeks, meetings for Momentum. And I keep hearing the same thing as, oh, I just don't know. And I don't know. And, well, what about this? Or how do I do this? And it's kind of like, dude, just do something. You can't just sit there on your hands all the time and talk about wanting to do something. You got to take action. So a lot of my conversations are just trying to push people into being uncomfortable. You're not going to know. You're going to feel lost for a little bit. We're here. We can help you. We can make it easy for you. End of story. Whether you want to learn, maybe we're willing to teach a man how to fish, but believe it or not everybody wants to learn how to fish. They want the easy button, and that's okay. We can do that too. So going in the NAICS codes for that, I had a great conversation with a gentleman yesterday about mechanical, huge shortage of mechanical, everything involved in mechanical. The guy was 23, smart kid, man, really smart. And he's going to do big things. And I was pushing him towards it because your NAICS code ultimately dictates what you can do. And the more NAICS codes you have, the more opportunity you have. So when I was talking to him about mechanical, it's like, hey, man, I know you got mechanical and everybody needs mechanical in every building, end of story. But what if you did concrete? What if you did drywall? What if you opened up to finding a good sub and hitting the fire suppression systems? You're already in the building. What else can you do to supplement what you're doing? And he's like, never thought of it that way. I said, most people don't. Get aggressive. Get out of your comfort zone. Start, and if you've never subbed things out, start with the smaller things that you can trust. At the end of the day, us at Semper Fidelis, we're glorified babysitters, man. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. So, if you want to be a glorified babysitter, you can be, or if you want to have boots on the deck all the time, you can do that too. We have a hybrid system to where if a sub fails, fire them, get our guys, reconsolidate, and let's finish the project because everybody has a specialty trade involved. But so many people are wrapped around the mindset of, I got to do it myself, or I can't use subs. They don't do it the way I do it. Okay, well, then create the structure to make it successful. Or better yet, let's get on a phone. We'll consult with you about how to make it successful. Part of the Facebook group I'm starting, and even the Vault for Momentum, it's going to give the templates for this. Templates that nobody gave us, templates that we created with working with 5 different entities of the government so far. It's going to give roadmaps, or we're going to roadmap you, assuming you want to go that route. Some people don't want to be helped that way, but that's a step that we're willing to take. It's what you make of it. And I keep saying that, but it's just money that's ready to be thrown out there. I have no sympathy for anybody that doesn't want to make this money, because if you don't want it, cool, somebody else is going to want it. And guess what? We'll help them.
Yeah, 100%. And give us an idea of how easily the government spends money on these types of things. You and I have spoken about this. I know for a fact, the Department of Defense, Department of War, whatever you want to call it, government in general has deep pockets, right? And they are willing to pay, and you get the bid process correct and you apply appropriately for these jobs, the money is out there. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship that you have with the government and what that looks like from a bidding process perspective? One, how easy does the money flow in? Talk about net, insert number of days. And then also what your responsibility is. I was on the receiving end. You gave a great presentation to Boardroom Elite a couple of weeks ago. You said something to the effect of, it's your responsibility to kind of cover the government's rear, if you will, a little bit, or you're installed for that reason. Can you talk a little bit more on some of that stuff?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So our purpose as a prime contractor is to protect the government. End of story. They don't want to get sued for things that are happening on site. They'd rather have somebody else get sued. And that's where we come in.
Hmm.
So the whole ethos behind being a prime is just covering your butt and everybody else's on the side. Because when we land a government contract on a federal building, because our primary NAICS code is institutional remodeler, they're handing us the building. That's ours until we're done with the project. And it doesn't matter what it takes. It doesn't matter if the subcontractor fails. It doesn't matter if the subcontractor goes broke. It's your responsibility, man. You won the contract. So
You
you
got to
always have
figure
to
it
be
out.
prepared. Yeah, you exactly. And I love that. I love the pressure, man.
Yeah.
I'm all about
Yeah.
give me that pressure. Pressure is a privilege, right? Heavy is the crown. And
Yes.
this is the mindset that I try to shift to people is look, man, this isn't what you think it is. It's not some service contract where you just go out there and you're wrenching tools all day. It doesn't have to be like that at all. It's really just what do you want to do with it? What are your margins? And I'll tell people this when I meet them on the calls is whatever your thought of money is, wipe it. It's not the
Mm.
same in the federal world. Whatever you think of
Why is
money,
that?
the government spends $700 billion annually. $700 billion annually. And me as an SDVOSB, we get a $50 billion set aside, meaning that work's already pushed aside for us and it's paid out. So when the government was shut down, we didn't shut down. We kept going. It's a set aside. Same thing with women-owned business. Same thing with Native Americans. Same thing with minority-owned businesses. Even veterans that aren't disabled, they have their own designators. So it's as beautiful as you make it, but you got to take a chance.
Yeah.
So
Are you a GC, by the way?
I was a general contractor prior to. I'm still
Okay.
a general contractor, but we're called primes. So yeah.
Got it. Copy. Okay. So this process of bidding, so talk us through, what step 1, 2, 3 may look like. You register on sam.gov, maybe another website or two. You get your registration approved. You can start bidding. What percentage of those can you bid for that is within your specialty or your NAICS code versus what percentage can you bid that is outside of that? Can you talk about the beginning stages of this as we transition into, for you at the next question, what the bidding acceptance rate has been looking like in bonding? But I want to start off with what this registration looks like and to illustrate to people, there is a barrier to entry here, right? I can tell you guys are actually holding my hand. Momentum is walking me through, and I'm in a very privileged position because you guys are helping me start this up and I'm utilizing your services. And I'm smart to do this, Ryan, because instead you went about it several years ago and you incurred those lessons learned. And now I'm taking it from you and I'm saying, all right, the mentorship that I have, the close proximity to the successful people I have, and that's you in this case, is mitigating my risk. So I'm really excited to do this, but I haven't learned enough just yet. So can you walk us through those first couple of steps of what this looks like for the folks out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna give you wave tops because there's things that happen
Yeah.
in between. So
Yeah.
you're registering with sam.gov, right? If you have a designator, then you're going to Navoba or whatever other place to get your special accreditation. After that, you're getting your insurance ready to go. You're getting your bonding capacity ready to go. Just to dive in a little bit about bonding, or actually, you know what? Let's hit bonding after that. You
Yeah.
get your
Yeah.
bonding ready to go. Now you're ready to bid. You've got your cap statement ready to go. So here we are going live looking for solicitations, right? So we have a syndicate system that's going to bring those emails to your inbox to make it faster because that took me a long time to figure out. Here I was looking for 30, 50 jobs and I only find like 3 looking on 15 different systems. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I can see that.
so you have like a pre-solicitation, right? The government will put out a pre-solicitation, which gives you the most time. Sometimes you find them already in solicitation, but pre-solicitation will give you 30 days. 30 days, the government's notifying everybody that, hey, this is about to happen. That gives me time to put it on the board and say, okay, my team, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is who's going, get it scheduled, blah, blah, blah. So during that time, we've already located subs. We've got the call center calling out, prepping the area to basically, do we have interest from subcontractors? If we don't, do we hybrid with subcontractors and our people? Or is there enough margin that we just want to do it ourselves? Because that does happen too, especially with roofs. So pre-solicitation passes. At that point, we know whether we're going to be all in or not after that 30 days. Second 30 days comes up and that's solicitation phase. During solicitation phase, it's free game, all right? They have the walkthrough. Sometimes they're mandatory, meaning you have to go and sign in or you can't bid. A lot of the times they're not mandatory. It also depends on the trade. And during that process of the second 30 days, we go into contract at about day 10. We try to have it contracted 2 weeks in that period. That way we have everything hashed out, contracts already written, we're ready for submission. We're not submitting early. We're waiting for the RFIs to come out because after you do the walkthrough, they let you ask questions about things that they missed because, they miss things. It's just how it goes. Sometimes the date gets pushed and you get 45 days or 60 days, just depends. But once your submission goes in, this is where it gets a little different. And this is where people kind of misplay their hand. Some award within 24 hours, some award within 6 months. It just depends.
You got to
So
be ready for
now,
it.
yeah, you got to be ready. And now we go back to bonding capacity, right? So with bonding capacity, If you're at $1 million bonding capacity, which you probably get with a 650 credit score, what happens is they'll give you like one job is your max capacity. Let's just say it's 200,000. All the other jobs, that 800,000 that's left, you can chop up into however many jobs you can support. But you have to play the game right, because if you're waiting 6 months for a bid, your bonding capacity is tied up, meaning your bonding agent's not going to let you bid past what your capacity is. So now
Mm.
the math here becomes, okay, if you've got 100,000 sitting in the bank, that is equivalent to $1 million in bonding, right? So, like us, we're up to 3 million in bonding and 1.5 in single job. And what that means is that 1.5 of that 3 million can be one job, or I can chop it all those up into so many jobs. The issue we're having right now is we're bidding on so many jobs because, again, you want to get it to stick. You never know. We were at a 68% win rate, dropping to 28% win rate. But at 68%, we were winning jobs that we weren't as profitable. Now at 28%, we're winning. We know what the margin is. We know what we're going to buy next. Like, it's clockwork, but everybody's different, right? I got a different overhead than you. So you doing it versus me, completely different. I got to have diesels on sites. I got to have trailers everywhere. I got dump trailers everywhere. So my overhead on job costing can be a little bit higher sometimes. It just depends on what's happening. But that's the hardest part, in my opinion, is figuring all that out up front when nobody's teaching you. Because what I'm telling you right now cost me. I was in a situation where we had won a job. Bonding agent didn't track me properly, and I wasn't tracking it because we're still learning. And they're like, hey, we can't bond you for this. And I'm like, dude, I got 10 days. What do you mean you can't bond me for this? We just won. This is money. This is what we're
Yeah.
going to make with this
Yeah. I
project.
need
He's
bonding.
like, yeah, he's like, this is great, but you're tapped out. You got to get somebody to knock you off the list, to knock you off my board. So here we are calling all the COs or whoever it was that was dealing on the other side of the government. And some of them fell off. Thank goodness. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. So we were able to get our bonding capacity on actual day 10 we submitted. Because after day 10, they'll ding you, meaning you're incompetent. You didn't do your part. You're
Yeah.
now ineligible. They send it back to the number 2 who now wins the project. And well, we got bonded for that project. So it's a process. There's a lot of things that happen in between there. And don't forget, you still have guys on site. And don't forget, you're still teaching the system. Don't forget, you got this, you got that. And that's where momentum really comes in heavy. It's, hey, take a step back. Here's a checklist. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Let's
Yeah.
walk it through, because nothing's worse than not knowing anything about anything. And that takes a very special person to go into something like that and just say, we got this. We're going to figure it out.
Well, I think one of the things that you mentioned to me as well, when you talk about losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on bids, if you inappropriately bid something or if you undercut, perhaps, yeah, there's an inverse relationship with the bid acceptance and the profitability, which we talked about, right? You're getting 68% bid acceptance rate, but your profit margins are low. Well, if your bid acceptance rate is really, really high, you may end up going into the red, right? In terms of your ability to handle this. So I can completely see where someone without guidance would do that. Let me just clarify from a bonding perspective. So if a 650 credit score gets you a certain bonding, but you also have to be liquid at 10% of the overall bonding capacity, is that correct? So if I'm doing $1 million job, I need to be able to demonstrate 100K. Is that correct? Or am I off with that?
So
Liquidity.
your first million is going to be on your credit score, but after
Got it.
that, you cannot grow past that. Now, don't get me wrong. I know people that live at $1 million. They've been doing it for 15 years of just this and that, and they're okay with it. They traveled every job. They're involved in everything. It's 3 or 4 guys. You can do that.
Got
I
it.
don't want that. I want more. I want better.
No,
I'm over
yeah.
here. I want the hundreds of millions.
Well, also think about it. It's probably an apex. At the very top, there's less people who have that bonding capacity. Therefore, there's less people playing in that sandbox, which is an
Correct.
incentive for you to. Okay, so if the first million is on your credit score, anything after that, you need to have that liquid capacity for. Is that correct?
100,000 is equivalent to $1 million in the bonding
Got it.
world.
Okay, got it. And then once the job is executed and complete, you regain that bonding capacity?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So either you win or you lose. Either way, it comes off your board.
Okay. What's your radius? You mentioned Semper Fidelis Construction Development can potentially do some local roofing jobs in San Antonio. How far out are you bidding for some of this stuff? And I mean, it sounds like you're going to North Texas for a few, maybe Oklahoma, Arkansas. What's your radius on this?
So right now we're bidding in, well, of course, all over Texas. We're bidding in Colorado, Wyoming, Missouri, Maryland. We just opened up to Florida, Illinois, and Oklahoma.
And are these predicated on a good subcontractor relationship? Why those states?
Okay, so I'm seeing recycled jobs. I'm seeing jobs that aren't
Okay,
being
got
done.
it.
So I don't bid on the standard prime jobs. What I bid on is only SDVOSB. Why? Because there's less competition with it. So that's why I'm targeting areas that I'm seeing more opportunities for
Yep.
me. And I know that with our contracts and the way we do things, it's just plug and play at this point. We know what you need to sign. We know how to hold you accountable. We're double checking the state law to make sure they won't contradict with our contract. It's clockwork, but it takes time. It's all stuff that had to be developed over time. And now we're at a point where it's okay, let's roll.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Can you define SDVOSB for the listeners, please?
Yes, service disabled veteran owned business. If you're a veteran, you and I need to talk because you're a gold mine. Ricardo, you're a gold mine. And all veterans out there, especially, I mean, veterans in general, but veterans with disability. Oh, you're gold mine. I mean, people should be throwing money at you. I'm telling you, I'm showing you how to make that happen.
I need that, dude. Yeah.
But no, it's a thing that they don't understand, that you're the biggest ticket out there for all of the designations. Okay, maybe not against Native American, but it's pretty close. Only because there's so much opportunity given out to SDVOSB. Again, that's set aside. When the government shut down, we didn't. We kept rolling. And that's why I'm able to do a lot of the things that I do. And I feel I've been able to grow at an accelerated rate because of it, because there's less competition. So, a regular prime bid, you may see 60 to 80 general contractors there. For me, I mean, I'll see 5 to 10 max.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, what percentage of disability does a vet need to have in order to qualify for SDVOSB?
So I was just reading this because I had a conversation with somebody. They asked me that the other day. I thought it was 20%, but it's anything rated at 0, meaning if you have a rating, and even if your rating is 0, you are eligible.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is a little inside baseball for veterans out there who have retired or separated. If you've been denied a claim on your disability, that's one thing. You're denied. But if Ryan received a 0, yeah, you may not be getting compensation for that. However, the 0 means that it's still on the table in the future if you have some sort of an issue that takes place. So I love that you foot stomped that. I think that's phenomenal. And for there to be a $50 billion set aside for this with little competition, that's tremendous, man. Can you walk us through numbers on a notional? Let's just say there's a job out there, $100,000 bid. You win that job. Can you talk us through general percentages you're seeing given whatever type of work you're doing in terms of profitability on something like that? It can be notional.
No, absolutely. So like when I was in residential, 50 to 60 jobs would be $1 million gross, right? What I'm learning here in the federal world is that that's like 5 jobs. It's like 200,000 a job on average. For what we're bidding, we're making just as much profit now as we were then. So let's just walk through okay, I'm going to use Amarillo as an example, right? Whenever we went through Amarillo, we were expecting a certain thing to happen. Timeline, had to fire the sub, just complete abortion, to say the least. Long story short, we walked out with 250. You know what I mean? On 450. Almost got into a fight too, because the guy that had came in second place was at 1.2 million.
Wow.
And it's like, what? But this is what's out there. It's, if I'm making that good of a margin, I mean, again, that's not every job, that's right. Understand that, but you can at least expect anywhere between 30 to 40%, in my opinion, because remember, everything we're bidding out is on a worst case timeline. Things don't normally take that long, but we have to project that they will, because I would rather look better and do it faster than take longer on a shorter timeline. So there's always more buffer that ends up, to your advantage, so long as you succeed in your mission. If you're sloppy in your mission and you take too much time, then yeah, you're going to bleed out.
And that's on you.
No, exactly. So again, it comes down to that 28% win ratio, right? You want what you want the way you want it, and you won't accept anything other than that. When you start getting that mindset and throwing things on the wall, that's when you're okay losing a bid. Before, I was so mad when I lose a bid, it was personal. I was like, oh man, how do I get better? How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, I got better, but I also learned that I don't want to win every job. I can't win every job, because not every job is profitable to me. Going back to talking to the mechanical guy the other day, his opportunity here is he's getting all mechanical at cost. And he's got his own installers. I can't beat that. Everybody's going to mark me up, and then I got to get marked up because I won't make any money. I've gotten my people on site, and we're managing the majority of the job, which is the hardest part, versus doing the job. Doing the job's the easiest part. So again, anybody with a trade license already, I mean, you're just that much further ahead than everybody. I don't even have any licensing. We just go out and we make things happen. And it just so happens my past performance has built up so much that they trust us with just about everything.
Yeah, I love that. Those are good profit margins, man.
They're very healthy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's compare where you were at originally to where you're at now. You said at the beginning you were bidding something like 5 jobs a month. What are you bidding now per month?
Well, we try to get 10 out a month.
Okay.
The goal is always 10 now, and here's why.
Okay.
10 don't always go out, even though that's the goal. Like 3 will get rolled over into the next month because of RFIs, those questions that take time to get answered. Sometimes they
Yeah.
go in depth, it takes 3 weeks to get an answer.
Yeah.
So that's why the goal is always 10, to always have numbers on the board. Always have numbers on the board. Something's falling off, or something's going on. If something's falling off, something's also winning. It just depends.
Yeah.
So that's how we play it. And that's the
I,
safest way to do it, in my opinion.
yeah. Yeah. And you have a bid team now, correct? You have a team that is dedicated to bidding.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have 5 bid writers with a supervisor and a director of operations over them.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about trades for a carpet cleaning company out there, for a pressure washing company, for a glass company. What types of jobs or what types of opportunities are you seeing on the bid website? And everybody can play in this sandbox, right? So, can you give an example of some stuff that you see that folks can kind of connect the dots with, that good examples that the government or state at federal level are willing to pay for people to do?
Oh gosh, it's everything you can think of. I mean, I have fun with it, and I always like to talk about the bus bids.
Yeah,
Over here
what's
in
that?
San Antonio, the math came out to about 90K a bus, 25 buses, and I'm looking at this solicitation getting recycled, and all it is, sandblast buses and paint the buses, and it's like, and I'm asking people, hey, you want to do this job with me? Blah blah blah, STV OSB. Nobody wants to do it, and gets recycled, gets recycled. I still have to check up on it again because I got recycled about 3 or 4 times. And at that margin, I'm like, man, I know I could sub this out for 40K a bus and still make the difference.
My gosh.
We're talking 50K difference. It's like, it's
A
out there.
bus per bus, like a school bus?
Per bus, per bus. And it's like, what is going on here? What is happening? So
Yeah.
I like to connect the dots. I mean, prime example, we had a member, Bose Nelson, right? Sub-Zero Thawing and the Lawn Savers. He's an elite member now. He reached out to me about a week and a half before bid was due. And he's like, hey man, is there a workaround for this? I'm like, no, there isn't. I said, but I'll tell you what, I like the numbers on that and I'll bid with you. So we set up a quick JV, put out a $3.1 million bid within a week, which is unheard of because that's a lot of paperwork, man. But we got it out probably like 5 minutes before the deadline. And now we're just sitting back waiting to hear. And he'll make, at least, well, he'll make good money. I can't throw out those numbers.
Yeah.
He'll make good money. I'll make money. I mean, it's kind of
This
one of
is
those
good.
things where you don't know what you don't know. And networking is so important because I've met so many great people that, I've had about 10 partnerships been offered over the last 2 weeks. I've accepted 2 of them. And it's like, I mean, barges, dude, you're making money. Mechanical, you're making money.
Yeah.
Glazing, you're making money. Bulletproof glass, you're making money. I want
Oh,
to
let me
talk to
tell
you,
you.
do bulletproof glass.
There's a lot out there. Like, if you live in an area where and it's not even a military bases, right? It's well beyond that. But, when I worked at different facilities for different Air Force bases, you would see people come in, clean carpets, tens of thousands of square feet on carpets, right? There's wash contracts with military aircraft where people are going out using, I'm not exaggerating, kind of sophisticated ladders and water hoses and cleaning these, self-agitation, manual work that I know the government is paying good money for, but from the labor perspective, there's a delta there. And if you win that bid and you manage it appropriately, there's a lot of money to be had with something like that. And so I clearly see it. I see it now, and it took some conscientious effort for me to ask you some questions and to kind of dig in a little bit. You have profitability, Ryan, as a successful entrepreneur. What are you doing with that? Are you reinvesting that into Semper Fidelis? You moving forward with that momentum? Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing with some of that cash and the capital.
So scrutinized with cash that I have to hold it in my business account.
Yeah,
I hold the majority of it in my business account, but a lot of it is gearing towards the next company. So like prime example, just ordered a bunch of dumpsters, right? We're going to do a site services company for the government because there's such a need for site services, which is the porta potties, the dumpsters, the blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And again, once you get into this world and you get bored, because eventually you're going to get bored, you're going to set up something that's going to run itself. That's how I came across that. I'm like, wait a minute, I can just target market all these people that are already in federal, and I can turn around and sell all these products to these people. Or better yet, don't even sell it, rent them. So now my odds are on a market database that I don't even have to pay any money for. I'm already in. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
And that's kind of the thing this is the things that I talk about when I do consulting is it's like, hey, people, I know this is going to sound unreal, but this is real. So, with momentum, I will do marketing. I'll both target the public because that's the biggest thing to me, but I'll also target market the database of contractors that are already in federal. It's really that easy. And it's not just me. Everybody can do it. I get emails all the time trying to solicit me for business or rentals or blah, blah, blah. So,
I can
it's a
imagine.
numbers game.
So excited to talk about momentum. Briefly here, tell us what the net payment terms look like for some of these jobs you're doing. Are you getting paid 3 months after this stuff is done? Tell us a little bit about
No,
that.
no.
Nice.
So
That
now with
would suck.
the VA. So again, I'm going to give you the normal rate of time, right? Every once in
Yeah.
a while, if something happens, there's a blip, they got to modify something, or there was a typo, a transpose number. I can tell you right now, VA, 48 hours. I'm getting paid from when after I approve submittal. So,
2 days.
oh yeah, 48 hours, absolutely. And that's why I hear it all the time. Oh, it takes too long to get paid, 90 days. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I didn't know you were a prime contractor. They're like, oh, I'm not. I just heard somebody. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. There's laws against that, just so you know. So that's not true. But anyways, so VA 48 hours. The Air Force, I know that they'll pay me in about 2 weeks, and then Army's right about 30 days. It just depends. So the whole thing here, and this is where people don't get it right, is when you can bill, right? So like if we're finishing pre-con and we're about to mobilize to the site, I'm already billing. I already have it ready. I already know what I'm going to bill in advance, because the last thing I'm ever going to do is put a lot of money forward for a project that I'm not going to get reimbursed on. And a lot of people just wait, or they try to finish the project and bill. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, man, you can bill once a month. So if you're complaining about it, it's because you didn't do your job. But these are the things that people don't take action on. So again, it's about perfecting the process. You got to have an internal billing person that's watching the numbers, that understands when to bill. And what I'll set up is trigger factors, right? Meaning if this, then that. That way they know that once this happens, oh, hey, by the way, here's an alert on your system, send the billing, you know? So
I like that.
it's progress payments throughout. So
Okay.
the notion of, oh, you got to wait till it's done, or you got to wait so long. Sorry, man. Here's what happened to you guys out there and why you don't like federal. You landed with a prime that was a little bit shady. He probably put you under a paid as paid net 60. So now it's taking him 30 days to get paid at worst case. And then you 60 days on top of that, you're now on 3 months. That's what happened.
Now you're having to float some money, and that puts you in a weird predicament. Yeah.
Correct. But I'll tell you why they do that. And why they do that is they're trying to hold their cash in their hand so that way their bonding capacity stays high. You see, I don't agree with that. I don't agree
It's a
with that.
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, pay it when it's due. It's just kind of one of those things. Now, don't get me wrong. Like we fired subs and they get mad. They're like, "Oh, you didn't pay us." Like, man, I'm suing you. What are you talking about? You've lost $90,000 because of you. I don't know. You damn penny. Read your contract. But it's the
Yeah.
world we live in, man.
Yep,
So
absolutely. And what percentage of work are you doing that is done by your crew at Semper Fidelis versus what you're subbing out?
we're probably, I mean, realistically, I'd say we're touching probably about 40 to 50% of the site, maybe. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is just like setting out the barriers,
Got it.
safety. So the way that the government views it is your paperwork is heavyweight, right? So everything you do for pre-con and setting up and the management, it carries a heavyweight. So I'd say we do 40 to 50%
Okay.
on average. On average.
Got it.
Sometimes we do more, like 80 to 90. Well, actually, no, on roofs now we're doing about 100% for roofs,
Okay.
only because it's, my gosh, if you're a reputable roofer, please reach out to me. We cannot find
Yeah.
one.
You hear him? Absolutely. Contact Ryan
We
Rodriguez.
need
I
it.
love that, man.
You want to travel?
Actually,
We'll travel all 50 states.
I know a couple roofers, so okay. Now tell me, what percentage of work outside of your NAICS code are you doing versus within your NAICS code? And is there a limit? Is there a cap to that? Is there a maximum number of a percentage of jobs I can do that doesn't fall within the specialty that I registered on sam.gov with?
So there is laws to this, especially at SDVOSB. I can't speak so much in the regular prime world. I know they do have to touch a certain percentage, but as SDVOSB, we have to do at least 50% of the work, but it's going to say that on the contract of what has to happen. If it's a specialty trade, it can go up to 70% subcontracted out, but you can't go past that. So
Got it.
it's
Okay.
kind of one of those
Understood.
things. It depends on what you're bidding on.
Okay. So I want to talk about momentum here, man, because I think what you're starting and what you're thinking about is genius, Ryan. There's a lot of folks in the industry out there that are trying in some way, shape, or form to help other people. But for you to do it within the Blue Collar Millionaire Network and to offer a service that ultimately helps mitigate your client's risk or that owner's risk in something, I'm seeing it right now firsthand. I had my first onboarding meeting with you guys last week. It was excellent, high attention to detail, very organized. And I've always been of the belief, like, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? And for folks out there who are looking at this as some daunting task, the reality of it is, yeah, it's a mountain, right? But you break it down into pieces, and I'm starting to see that they've asked for a couple of pieces of information, and you guys are working with me closely. Talk to us about the services that you're going to offer. One, talk to us about the benefit that it provides and how one of your clients is essentially attaching to your expertise and the success and failure that you've already gone through and how that propels and provides them the momentum they need to kind of move on and to bid successfully and to win these.
Yeah, no, no problem. Absolutely. So, first thing we do is the onboarding, right? And what I mean by that is any business that's interested in federal, we talk to them about, well, the why, right? I want to understand you, want us to understand how you operate your business, make sure mentally you're prepared for what's going to happen because things got to change.
Yeah,
It's always better when you're new to business, in my opinion, because when you're older in business, you already have bad habits. You don't want
ain't
that to
that the
bleed
truth?
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why, like that younger mechanical guy, it's like, dude, do it. Do yourself a favor. Don't even get involved in all that other stuff. Learn this way, and everything else is easy after that. But yeah, no, we onboard to get you as a prime, get you your badges. We're going to vet you to tell you what you rate and don't rate, which is part of the interview process. Because that's one thing most people don't know. I've got a gentleman we're working with right now. He's putting his wife on his SDVOSB, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's the smartest move you can do. Now you're
makes sense.
SDVOSB at women-owned business. Come on, man.
Come on, man. You're
Yeah,
gonna win.
yeah, exactly,
Golly.
exactly. Talking to another guy, Native American, didn't even know. And it's like, dude, you're a
Jeez.
gold mine, man. Do you see what I'm getting at though?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's just about giving to people that have no clue because the coolest thing that happened to us was learning this process and making it, right? And it was like a mountain that we just made it to the top of. So, and looking back and reflecting on everything, because we're all real big on reflection, is what fulfills us, right? The fulfillment for us is seeing that person make it, right? Like Bo, when I was telling you about that $3.1 million bid, he's like, oh man, he sent me a text message and he's like, dude, thank you. He's like, that's crazy that we did it that fast. Everything happens as a reason, for a reason. Joined the group like 2 weeks prior. And to read that text message was like, man, that's so cool. We made a difference. And but this guy, he wins. I mean, it's life changing money. You
Yeah.
know, again, I know
And
the
you've
margin.
and you've said that a couple of times now, and it's so true, man. It'll change your life. And you're a living testimony. It changed your life. You were in the hospital and, emerged by pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, you emerged and transitioned into this new working strategically on the business versus working in the business concept. And you did so through this, which I think it should resonate with a lot of hard workers. For all intents and purposes, all the attributes and what you put into the business, it's all very admirable. But to the extent that it negatively affects your health and your family and your livelihood, that's not good. And so for you to offer this in turn, I know that's coming from an impactful place for you.
Yeah, no, it's to save people from going through what they're going through. And that's why we're even starting the Facebook group to go even more in depth with federal. It'll be just a federal oriented thing to where we're teaching and we're talking. And most importantly, let's talk about like the discipline of it all and the foundation of it all, because that's what a lot of people are skipping. They're thinking about all this glory and money. It's like, dude, that means nothing if you are a morally empty person that has zero goals and zero drive other than money. The money's not going to make you happy. End of
No.
story.
And
So it's something that needs to be talked about more, in my opinion. So
100%. Okay, so one of your clients signs up with you. Let's say they've never bid before, they're just starting, but they own a business, right? And they're doing well in the business, but they're just doing residential. They want to break out. So they go to you, you help them with the setup and the startup phase. Do you help them and put a bid package together? If you do, is it one time? Is it unlimited times? How long does this relationship last? Talk us through a little bit of that.
So this relationship is last as long as it takes you to learn if you want to learn it. So we've got different packages for this. We have a la carte, which you can buy one bid, you can buy three bids, you can buy 10 bids. The more you buy, the more you save. Or you can do the membership. Once you win a job, the membership, what that does is it gives you your pre-construction submittals as well as your actual AHAs and everything you need to get onto the job site, to include even work while you're on the job site. We're working on a separate membership right now that dives into it, like a do it for you completely. That way, business owners that just want to throw money at something, but they don't want all the headaches that come with it. Probably going to pilot that here in the near future, but that's a little more extensive. And that's why we're kind of really working out how we would do that or how that would work. But there's something for everybody. I mean, we even have consulting. I've got a couple of guys that I'm even talking to these days. Again, SDVOSB, and one of them is just a regular standard prime, but just giving them the ins and outs. They'll sit down and we'll give them an hour, and it's, what do you want to go over? Tell me about you, and they tell me about them, and I'll dive into what they're not thinking about and how to approach the situation. Again, this is all strategic. Nothing about this is just made up. It's through pain. What we're
Yeah.
selling here at Momentum is the pain that you don't have to go through for the money that I've already lost and the money you don't have to lose.
The stakes are high in this scenario. Naval Ravikant says this, and he's got the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's a good book. Talks about how do you generate and create wealth? It's by adding value to the marketplace. And the marketplace that you're functioning in right now is way different than a lot of other marketplaces. But It's because the barrier to entry is high. You are lowering that barrier to entry by mitigating that. You're essentially taking this gate and you're lowering it down, saying, hey, hop over. I offer a service. I'm going to let you in. And then when you're in, not a lot of people are in here and functioning here. So I'm super excited to see this kind of launch. What does the 1 and 3 year kind of goal look like for you, both with Momentum as well as your company, Semper Fidelis, and what you guys are working on?
Yeah, so the goal for this year for Semper Fidelis is 10 million. The goal for the first 30 days for Momentum is 100,000. We've only soft launched. We haven't even fully launched, and we're already almost halfway there. So
Let's
it's kind of one of
go.
those things. So now it's like I want 1 million this year for Momentum. End of story. Really, for Semper Fidelis, a 5-year plan. If we didn't get to 100 million, I didn't do my job. With Momentum, same thing. If we're not at 10 million in 5, that I didn't do my job again. So the thing here is just you raise the bar high. I'm really
Yeah,
big on 10X mentality, man. Grant Cardone and all that stuff. Brandon Dawson, holy moly, those
I know.
books, and even going to the events, you got to be crazy, man. It's got to be a passion that cannot be
Yeah.
held back. And
Yes.
I have my Monday meetings, and I'll talk to people. And I had the coolest thing happen the other day. We had an onboarding, and I had somebody else do it that's not normally doing it, because I'm all about, we got to grow you, we got to grow you, we got to grow you. Everybody else has an individual goal plan. She came to me before, and she's like, I'm just really scared. I've never done this or anything like this. And I'm like, you're gonna be okay. But
Yeah.
do you need help? She said, no. You said, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm doing the right thing. And it's like,
Yes.
man,
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about. Culture, right? All about culture. Get
Yeah.
people uncomfortable, then you grow. Same mindset with blue collar people. It's like everybody's always kind of like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it just sounds too good to be true. And it's like, dude, then don't grow. But
Hmm.
I'm offering you, I'm handing you the keys.
Yep.
Like, why
100%.
wouldn't you take them?
Yeah.
So,
Discomfort is where growth begins.
yeah.
And if you're comfortable and you're listening to this and you're sitting back, even if you have a successful business, because guess what? You can still be comfortable and successful. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is if you want to scale up, if you want to take it to that next level, you have to get uncomfortable, because uncomfortable and discomfort is where that growth begins until you stabilize and get comfortable again. But then you've leveled up, right? And I can tell you, of the 300,000 members I talked to, tens of them per week, and that's a small scale, but I hear some of the trials, the issues, the successes. This is a component that I haven't heard yet spoken about enough, and this is why I was very excited, Ryan, to have this podcast. Man, you've added a lot of value to what I'm doing personally, not only from just the inspirational aspect, STV, OSB, the Boardroom Elite. Having you as part of the group is proximity to my success. I'm more successful because I'm in your presence. And for those listeners, I want them to just kind of take that away for a moment. Tell us how someone can get a hold of you personally, Momentum, from that roofing aspect. Give us some data so that way, and I'm going to put this in the cliff notes as well, so that way folks know where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, no, choosemfs.com. MFS means Momentum Federal Solutions. On there, you're going to see our 800 number. You can text it. You can text ready to that number, and it's going to send you a scorecard. That scorecard is going to rate you based on what you input. So that way we can understand how to better help you when we set up the appointment. Because once you set up the appointment, we're going to dive into you. We're going to tell you a little bit about us, and we're going to tell you how we can help you and what you're eligible for off the bat. From there, we send you the price list. If I figure out what's within your means, how you want to do it. Biggest thing here is just investing in yourself.
Yep.
If you're trying to get a hold of Semper Fidelis Construction Development, 210-371-5009. That's going to get you to our main line. And what'll happen there is maybe you want to be a subcontractor in another state for us. Maybe you just want to bump ideas around about construction in general. Reach out. Help is just a phone call away. But here's the hardest part is you got to ask for it. Okay.
Yep.
Get out of your comfort zone. Understand that you don't know everything. I don't even know everything. It's just how it is. If you're
Closed
not
mouths don't get fed.
You just said it. And the key here to construction and to being successful in any construction business or industry, is you have to always want to get better. If you're not doing this, you're dying, man. Grow or die. That's one of the things we talk about every day in our culture.
I love it, man. Listen, Ryan, I really appreciate you spending some time. I know you've had 50 interviews today with different folks, and this is your 51st, and it's a podcast, but I'm grateful that you had some time to spend with me, and I feel like we're going to give a lot of value to the listeners for this one, brother. So I'm excited to meet up with you again at our next Boardroom Elite session and work with you on a weekly basis, man. And we got to check back in a couple of months to see how this stuff is going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anytime. And I appreciate you guys at Blue Collar. Again, if you're not already a part of Blue Collar Elite, I have this conversation often in my meetings. It's all about proximity. Talking to the right people will change your life. And it changed mine. You don't know what you don't know. So get around those types of people and make things happen. Because if you don't, again, we're not going to feel sorry for you when you don't get there.
Let's go. On that note, listeners, thank you for chiming in, or thank you for listening in to Blue Collar Millionaire Podcast. This was with Ryan Rodriguez, crushing it. Give him a like, give him a follow, and check in with him at choosemfs.com. He's changing some lives. I'm one of them, and I can attest to it. So thank you guys. Have a great day.